You want to see the picture of Öcalan and me?
Yes, please.
Okay, here's a picture that was taken when I visited Abdullah Öcalan in Damascus, Syria in March 1998. It was in Damascus in March 1998. And we finally arranged it. So I flew into Damascus and they met me at the airport, and I was with him for 3 days. And I presented him with two of my early books. Here's one of them that I gave him. See the red book? And I also gave him this book. These are two of my books I wrote back in the 1990s. We play volleyball, okay? And we're on opposite sides. I'm on one side of the net, and he's on the other side of the net. And there are about 50 of his guerrillas are watching us play volleyball. And he hits a shot, and it just out. He just misses, but everybody's afraid to say out. They're just listening to see what he says. And I've played a lot of people who like to cheat and always call the shot in their favor. But Öcalan, he said it's out. And I always thought that was an example of how he's an honest person. Well, he said a lot of things. We were eating food. We were having a picnic outside, and a bumblebee came and was flying around on our food. And he said that a bumblebee is sweet and bad. It's sweet because it makes honey, and it's bad because it stings you and hurts you. Well, I remember that this was the time. Remember Parma 6 Zeki? He blew up his hand in a bomb or something. He was one of the PKK commanders, and it was at that time that Öcalan was having trouble with him, and it took a telephone call, and we were talking about. Actually, I have the whole thing here. I published the interview in this journal, Middle East Quarterly. Well, we were playing football, American soccer. And of course, I'm an American. I don't know how to play soccer. So I was running all over the place, making a fool out of myself. And Öcalan showed me how to just stay in one place. You don't constantly run after the ball. You hold your ground and wait for the ball to come to you. And I remember that Öcalan kicked the ball real hard one time, and he hit one of the women players right in the face. He hit her. And we had to stop playing because she was in pain. And then a few minutes later, somebody hit him with the ball too. It was right in his face. So we were playing a rugged game of football. A reasonable person that you could talk to, and that he could think strategically. That means he could see the overall picture, the past, the present, and the future, and have an overall picture of where he thought he was going. Now, of course, this is 1998. It's before he was captured. So many things have happened. It's been more than 20 years now, 23 years. So a lot of what I know from him is just background before he left the Middle East and was in Italy and then was captured and so forth.
Michael Gunter, professor of political science at Tennessee University, and EU Turkey Civic Commission director. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Abdullah Öcalan has been held in isolation in prison for 23 years now. He has been denied visits from his family and lawyers. There are now concerns about Mr. Öcalan's health and whereabouts. Can you comment on this treatment?
Well, I think it's clear that respect for international standards of human rights requires visits from his family and lawyers, and he's not receiving these minimal guarantees of international human rights.
That's another very significant issue I would like to ask you. What is the importance of freedom of Kurdish leader Öcalan and delisting the PKK from forbidden organizations? As many people are saying, keeping PKK on the list and keeping Mr. Öcalan under isolation is two faces of the same problem. Actually, how would you going to evaluate that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That all those who are interested in promoting a peaceful solution to the Kurdish problem in Turkey, including Turkey itself, will benefit politically, at least from giving Öcalan some maybe house arrest, partial release. They were talking about that back in 2015. So I think we should move. If you really want peace, we have to move towards some type of partial release for Öcalan and delisting of the PKK. See how that goes. Does it really promote peace? If it fails to promote peace, you can always go back to where you were before. But I suspect that Erdogan simply does not want peace now. It doesn't serve his purposes.
Another important question as well. I'm really sure that it's your area to answer that. What was the target of the Western allies and United States by taking Mr. Öcalan as a hostage with the February 15 international conspiracy 23 years ago?
Well, as you know, the U.S. considered Öcalan and the PKK, and still does, as terrorists, mainly to appease its NATO ally, Turkey.
Turkey is getting more and more repressive in its treatment of the Kurds. This must have a bearing on how Western allies view the Kurds. What can we do to shame our governments into acting in favor of the values of human rights and justice that they claim to uphold?
Well, I think the isolation of Öcalan is a mistaken policy because it prevents a serious approach towards peaceful settlement. Unfortunately, in the matter of Öcalan's release and delisting the PKK, the EU and the European Court of Human Rights seem to be involved in too many other problems that seem to them more important, like Ukraine right now and NATO's fractured response to the threats in Ukraine, the COVID situation, other economic problems, climate change, that the Öcalan matter and the PKK delisting matter are just on the back burner now.
Lastly, what is your expectation and message for Mr. Öcalan and the Kurdish people as well?
Well, you know this better than I do because I'm an American and I live in the present. But in the Middle East and the Kurds, we see things for the long haul, And this means we must remember that we're in this for the long range situation. So do not despair. We've accomplished much over the last 40 years, and we have to continue if it takes another 40 years, because this is not something that's going to be solved in one day.
Dear Michael Günther, Professor of Political Science at Tennessee University and Director of the EU-Turkey Civic Commission, thanks for joining us. Thank you for these valuable comments.